Testing, testing.
Hi, Ristico. I've got 3:30. Are we good to start?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we are good to go.
Okay. With that, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Development Permit Panel meeting for Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. On the panel today, we have myself, Wayne Craig, General Manager, Planning and Development, Roland Zwag, General Manager, Engineering and Public Works, and Kirk Taylor, Director of Real Estate Services. Also joining us, we have a number of city staff members, Suzanne Smith, Tolu Alabi, Alex Costin, and Josh Reese. I don't believe I can see anybody else. The panel deals with matters of form and character, things such as parking, architecture, landscaping, exterior lighting, etc. The panel does not deal with matters of land use or density, as those are established through the rezoning process approved by City Council. In terms of order of business today, once we get the meeting going, we will receive a presentation from the applicant regarding the proposed development or changes to the proposed development, as is the case with a couple of the applications today. We will then hear staff comments. There will be an opportunity for panel members to ask any questions of city staff or the applicant, as well as an opportunity to hear any questions or comments from members of the public. We will also read any written correspondence received regarding these applications into the record before panel deliberation. And then ultimately, should these applications be endorsed by the panel today, they will proceed to City Council for their consideration as soon as any conditions have been met. Of note, this is the only opportunity for members of the public to delegate, as there is no opportunity to delegate on these matters when they proceed to City Council. So with that, we'll turn our attention to the agenda for today. The first motion or item on the agenda is a motion to adopt the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on November 14th of 2024. Kirk, Roland, could I have a motion? So moved and seconded. All in favor? Those motions or minutes are adopted. The first item on our agenda today is Development Permit 17-772227. The applicant is Enrich Cambie No. 5 Road Development Corp. The property location is 11671 Cambie Road. And the purpose of the application is for the panel to review changes to on-site landscaping, building cladding, privacy fencing, and associated minor features, and whether those features should be or changes should be considered in general compliance with the approved development permit. So with that, Ken, will you be providing the presentation?
Yes, can you all hear me well?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
All right, I will share my screen. All right. This 20-unit townhouse project at number 5 in Cambie had a long history starting in 2014. And during that course of time, there were delays and changes of ownership, which I will review in a minute. In general, there are 5 buildings. The picture at the bottom is the Cambie frontage, and there's an internal T-shaped drive aisle with a dead end, 2 duplexes, 6-plex and a 5-plex for 20 units. The project has a kind of a long history on the left-hand side. I'll just quickly go over. Since 2014, there's been ownership change in 2015, another ownership change in 2016. The rezoning was done by the first owner, and the DP application was done by the third owner. And the BP was applied for in 2018. There was a COVID pause. And then in 2021, at the end of 21-22, there was an urgent call to me saying that the BP and DP will lapse unless you guys find an owner to really take it over. So, and Rich got involved in November 2021, and that's when he came on board after the long COVID pause. And then we quickly worked on IOC drawings, and construction began. And you know, there was an urgency to get the things done. But 2 years later, there were some decisions made during construction which differed from the DP, which has us here now. Now, while we strive to adhere to the DP very, very closely, there were some things during construction, some unforeseen circumstances, and some changes due to the new owner's marketing team. And in the 10 years, there was a new sensitivity to the current market, and I'll explain that in a second. Okay, on the right-hand side is an overview of the DP versus as-built differences. And these 6 items, A to F, I will quickly expound on with the following slides. Item A, the site was installed with 5 fewer trees and was replaced by 2 larger trees. The green strip at the entry was too narrow for 3 trees, and we discovered that 2 other trees, which were approved, were actually approved in the sanitary right-of-way, which from past experience, we go, oh, that's not allowed, but it was approved. And subsequently, the 2 newer trees has greater value than the 5 that were not planted. Item B, the privacy screens were extending past the shallow canopies. Some along the Cambie frontage and some along the prop headway along the Coast Capitol from front to the back, connecting Cambie and Nellis. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but they've been sort of rectified. Item C, the mailboxes had to be moved because, as Canada Post discovered later on in their on-site review before installation, there was a manhole right where the mailman would stand, and they would not allow that to be installed there because of a tripping hazard. So we had to move it. Item D, the Dry Valley crossing was initially proposed to be raised, but so the raised section of pavers was to provide a kind of safe crossing between the 2 amenity areas right over the mid-site sanitary right-of-way. And then in the end, speed bumps were installed instead, and we'll talk about that. Item E, some cladding materials were changed quickly during the process. That was a result of the marketing team thinking that the original gray and white design was too stark for the current market, so we muted it down by some of the minor lap siding being tan instead of white, bright white, and then the bright red doors were honed down to a muted red-brown. And the shingles were seen as too traditional and went too board and batten in some areas. Finally, item F, some small sections of pony wall were changed to aluminum guardrails, which I'll show. So those 6 items. The first item, so on the left, you'll see at the bottom here, there were 3 trees that were proposed, columnar trees proposed along the entry driveway, which could not be installed and in the as-built situation. And then 2 trees here, which were approved in the sanitary right-of-way. The sanitary right-of-way goes right across our site in the middle, where the amenity area is, and then it turns up north along the straddling the north-south west property line. So we recognized that was not allowed, so we had to take that out. And so the photographs show those locations and where the new trees are planted. So there's one large white pine that was installed right where the red box is. That was added. And also another tree was added here, right beside the mailboxes. Should I go over all of these items or ask for questions first?
Please proceed with your presentation, okay. And we'll ask questions at the end. Thanks.
And then B, the privacy screens between units. So it was shown in red on the landscaping drawings, this note that in handwriting, and it says, only allowed under the covered entry porch, not to project into the open yard. In both cases, along the Canby side and then along the walkway side. So I believe it was just overlooked, but in the end, they were cut down. So on the middle drawings here where the green line is, they were cut down to what you show, what you can see at the bottom to rectify that. And then on the prop walkway side, you can see that they're the 6-foot wood fencing. But I think after staff reviewed it, it was supported or let go, and we could sort of understand why, because the 6-foot wood portion only extends generally about the same depth as the balconies that extend in front of the entryway. So that seems to be a reasonable acceptability. We can talk about that afterwards. Next item. Here's where the mailboxes were moved from under this canopy over to this new location because of this casting here, which is still flush with the pavers, but the mailboxes were supposed to go against this gray wall or the tan wall. But Canada would not allow that to be there, so we had to move it to this other wall, which is very visible and it's under weather protection. And the landscaping and shrubbery was adjusted to suit. Item D. Item D on the left shows sections of the approved DP drawings. So at the bottom, the approved architectural site plan does not say raised portion, raised crossing. Although at one time it did. I think what happened was, I don't know what happened, but I think staff somehow changed that note to say, pavers, set in sand, drivable, approved by engineering. But I think that might have before said raised section. However, the upper drawing on the landscape says 3-inch rollover curb. So there was a discrepancy that maybe as the architect, I should have noticed maybe a difference there, but in the rush, we saw on the landscape, but not on the architectural. So that's something that that happened. So on the right, you see that we proposed the 4 sections of speed bumps, and they were installed. When the engineering was done, it was done without the raised curb, and the underground storm pipes were installed, not anticipating the raised section. So even if we were to retroactively add that raised section, it would not have drained properly. Item E. So although it was a simple change of some of the bright white secondary lap siding to this tan color, but it was in various places. And same thing with the shingles, which to boarded batten. So to the new marketing team, this was more desirable, fresher, and less stark than originally approved, with the bright red doors and so on. So that was why that happened. It happened quickly, and then we did think that it was improvement, but we also neglected to make note of that to the city. And finally, there were some sections in the 2 interior duplexes that originally was approved with pony walls, and then subsequently was installed with picket fencing. So on the top, building 2, right on the left-hand side, building 2, you will see these 2 sections as pony wall, and building 5 here with pony wall. But instead, they were picket and picket and picket and picket, as seen on the right-hand side. So this would have been pony wall, and this would have been pony wall. So after it was done, I didn't even notice it was different, but subsequently, I guess either staff or the builder saw it, but I honestly didn't notice that difference. So to conclude, I just want to summarize that there were some mitigating factors. So there have been 4 different owners, 3 ownership changes over 7 years. There was pauses in activity, mainly because of COVID, and when COVID ended and we were told that the BP and the DP were going to expire, Enrich stepped up and took over and completed the project. And then there was a new marketing team and a big rush to get it built, expedited. And there were unforeseen as-built site conditions, such as the 2 trees that we saw that were approved that shouldn't be in the sanitary right away, or a green strip that was as-built too narrow. So on the right-hand side, I summarized by kind of making a case for compliance. So just going down the list quickly, the 2 replacement trees have greater value than the 5 implanted ones. The 2 new trees approved, I would recognize that 2 trees were approved in the existing sanitary right-of-way. The Cambie frontage screens have been lowered to comply. The 6-foot-tall screens was left as is, and they approximately extend to the front edges of the balconies, which is kind of the intent, that it doesn't project past the canopy. The mailbox location is acceptable to Canada Post because it wasn't acceptable where that manhole was. And arguably, in the location where it is now at the end of the drive aisle, it's possibly better septed, a little more safer than having it kind of without eyes to that little area. The 4 speed bumps provide similar pedestrian safety. The cladding changes were only minor portions of the exterior. Like, I know it wasn't the overall color, it wasn't the main cladding, but the main colors haven't changed. And finally, the 4 short sections of pony wall, which are now pickets, were not changed at street frontages. They're at the 2 interior, 2 duplex buildings only in the interior of the site. So that's my presentation.
Thank you for that. Any staff comments?
Just a few comments, if I may, Mr. Chair. The applicant did provide quite a comprehensive presentation. I'll just highlight that, as indicated by the architect, the changes have been made on site. The proposed changes to the landscaping are, and as otherwise noted by the architect, are generally consistent with the development permit guidelines for townhouses.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions of the panel? Roland, Kirk.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering if can stop sharing the screen.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it. Couple of questions. The first one has to do, are the buildings currently occupied?
Yes, they are. I believe they're all sold and occupied.
Okay, so it's fully constructed. Yeah, my question more has to do with, you mentioned a couple of things. There was some oversight that was missed with respect to the discrepancy between drawings. On one end, you were saying there were some rushes versus then there was some long delays in timelines. I'm just wondering, there's quite a number of changes. How many of these changes were communicated to the city at time of or recently close to the time of the change?
Mr. Chow, are you able to?
I'm looking down my list, and I can't recall that any of those items were brought up to city at the time. I know that I was kind of thinking of compiling these things at the right time, but when the right time comes along, it was nearly done. So I can't say that I have come forward with making these DP changes aware to the city at the time.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Chair, no further question. I may have some comments during deliberations.
Okay, thank you. Kirk, anything from yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have just one question on the mailbox. I see the location where it was. It looks like it was more undercover. I understand the manhole issue. I just can't see from this drawing of this new location. Is it covered there? Is the area actually roofed or just?
It is covered with a trellis and sloping plexi over.
Okay, I couldn't see the plexi. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chow, and I guess to the applicant, Enrich, as well. I guess we recognize that as we progress through development permit conceptual level drawings to detailed design and construction, that there would be some changes to the drawings. I think it's very important that those changes are communicated to staff as soon as possible to avoid delays and finding ourselves in this type of meeting where we're being asked to approve changes after construction. Having said that, I can understand the relocation of the mailboxes. I can understand some of the minor things related to the balconies, the privacy screens, etc. The one item that I guess I'm struggling with is how the original landscape plans had identified the planting adjacent to the drive aisle, only to determine at a later date that there was insufficient area there for that planting. So is your landscape architect able to comment on how that occurred?
The landscape architect has conferred with Enrich, and I think they can pass along the reason why. Brian or Ken, are you there?
Yes, Ken. Hi, Wayne. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Ken. I was the project manager that was overseeing the construction for this project. One main reason for why during the as-built period, the curb or the laneway beside the driveway was much narrower than anticipated was if it's the neighboring property, they have a concrete retaining wall that's already built. And at that time, that wall is actually encroaching onto our property by not much, a little bit. But we weren't able to build on top of the retaining wall. So what we had to do was move our retaining wall closer to our side without changing the size of the car driveway. So the only thing that we could reduce was the space between the retaining wall that we built and the driveway. So this led to a narrower strip, which in turn gave it less space for trees to be planted there.
All right. Thank you for that. I'm assuming then there was no change to the shrub planting in that area. It was just the 3 trees. Is that fair?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. Rustico, do we have any members of the public or any written correspondence on this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, we have 3 members of the public registered to delegate remotely on this item. So they are Calvin Cheng, Gordon Hayashi, and Cherry Chow. I believe Calvin Cheng and Cherry Chow are in the Zoom meeting right now.
All right. Calvin, perhaps we could start with you. If you could state your name and address and provide us with your comments. I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand or turning on their camera. Who was is the interested member of the public here, Rustico, or?
There's another one, Mr. Chair. She's Cherry Chow.
All right. Ms. Chow, if you could turn on your camera, introduce yourself, state your name and address for the record, and then provide us any comments that you may have.
Hi, you can see me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So my name is Cherry, and I live in Unit 1. During all these changes, I think there has been a lot of, communications that were communicated to us, like you said, afterwards. And there have been questions as to why things are done a certain way as well. So during this past year, so me, the 3 people that's on the council, me, Tony, Unit 20, and also Dickie, Unit 5, the council has been working hard to try to get some of these items sorted out, to try to figure out things. But overall, I don't really have any questions in regards to what was presented, as everything has been done already, what was presented. So I think that's pretty much it on my end. I don't have any other comments on it.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time and advising us that at least there was some communication on an ongoing basis between yourself and the developer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Rustico, was there anybody else or?
There's nobody else, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And any written correspondence received?
None, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to panel deliberations. Roland, Kirk, any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just echo what you said earlier. There was quite a number of changes during construction. Some are obviously the result of some barriers, the retaining wall, which thank you for that explanation as well. I'm still kind of concerned with 3 items. The first one being the overall tree management strategy. Yes, the applicant planted more than they were required to, but less than we had expected at the City of Richmond. They're providing some money in lieu, which is good. But again, if you look at the overall approval, which was for, I believe it was 61 trees, it didn't quite meet that mark. That was kind of my first concern. The second had to do with the raised driveway crosswalk versus now those speed humps. Having some familiarity with them, they could be removed at any time. So I want to see if there's any opportunities to get some securities in place, because those are not known to last a very long time, depending on the use and the vehicle traffic and loading. So that's an area of concern. And the third one, just more to do with the form and character of the building when we approve a certain style, color, red doors, white, and then the applicant changing it during the process without it sounds like advance notice. So just 3 items of concern, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure how to address those, but just want to express that to the applicant and the builder.
Thank you for that. I think there, in terms of securities, the city is holding a landscape security to ensure that the landscaping is installed as per approved plan. We do have a 10% holdback on that landscaping. For a period of 1 year to ensure that the landscaping is maintained and survives. It would be within the purview of the panel to include those speed humps within that security and potentially to extend the length of that security. Is 1 year sufficient, Mr. Zwag, or were you looking for something beyond that?
Yeah, thank you. I do not know when occupancy occurred, but 1 year may not be sufficient in this case. I was wondering if the panel is open for extending it at 2 years for just the speed humps component of the work.
Yeah, I believe that is something we can do. I mean, the inspection has not yet been fully concurred to. So I think we can provide direction to staff that the landscape holdback be extended for the purpose of ensuring that the speed humps are retained for the purpose of releasing the security.
Sorry, can I just jump in for a sec about the speed bumps?
We have concluded the public delegation portion, but I'll afford you the opportunity. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So what you're saying right now, it's like you guys are proposing for the speed bumps for 2 years, correct?
No, what the panel is discussing right now is that the speed humps are to be retained in perpetuity.
Okay.
To ensure that they are retained, we will extend the security to see that after a 2 year period, there's still no deterioration of the speed humps. If there is a deterioration, then they would need to be replaced.
Okay, because I mean the speed bumps are pretty tearing worn right now already. So
I think that is the concern that Mr. Zwag has brought forward, that these are not as ideal a solution as what we had originally envisioned, that we will conduct an inspection over the course of the next 2 years to ensure that they continue to be in good order before releasing the 10% holdback.
We did install another speed bump at the entrance of the strata, just because we've noticed cars has been whizzing by the corner, and living at the corner unit myself, there were a couple of times that my car almost got hit with my kids in it coming out of the garage. So hence the council did decide to install a set of speed bumps on it. Just FYI.
Appreciate that. Unfortunately, that is not something that we can get into, given that it wasn't on the approved plans. So, but I appreciate you providing that information.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Taylor, any comments from yourself?
No, thank you very much, but I'm in agreement with Mr. Zweig.
All right. So with that, I would propose that we, the panel, consider the staff recommendation that the changes that have been done are deemed to be in general compliance with the approved development permit, subject to the landscape security survival portion be extended to a period of 2 years from the inspection date. And I guess, Mr. Chow, just if you could, and Enrich, just recognize that we do want to see the delivery of housing as soon as possible. Enhanced coordination or ensuring that there's coordination with the city avoids situations like this, and really would streamline the delivery of housing and avoid any confusion for future residents. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor, or actually a motion?
I'll move it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Kirk, second. All right, call the question. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that brings us to item number 2 on today's agenda, which is development permit 23025993. The applicant is Anthony Bonney of Bonney Madison Architects. The address is 4831 Steveston Highway. And the purpose of this application is to consider proposed changes to the north and south facades of the building, and the addition of art elements to be deemed in general compliance with the development permit. Mr. Bonney, over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I will share my screen here. If everybody can see that. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, sorry, thank you. I can't see if anybody's nodding or not. Thank you. Great to be here this afternoon to talk about art on a building, which I think is great. Some time ago when we started talking about this building, the society, Turning Point Housing Society, did have a desire to add art to the building. But at that time, when we were talking about the development permit, we didn't have confirmation of who the artists might be or the budgets to be able to do this. So it took us a little while as we worked for the building, and the building is under construction right now, scheduled for completion in February, which is fantastic. So now we've come across to work through to get art on the building, and we've engaged with Gary Ney, an artist, and I think his kind of landscape style is something that kind of resonated with the team. The building, as you can see, this little rendering, corner of Steveston Highway and Railway, fully under construction. Even today, it looks exactly like that because it's all cladded now. So it's pretty exciting. So we looked at putting art on 2 facades, and we had this intention a year ago because we knew we had some kind of fairly blank facades in the north and south end of the building. So we wanted to kind of work on that. So you can see how the building, there's the pedestrian walkway on the east side facing Railway with substantially treed, and the building is set back from Steveston Highway there. So looking at the elevations in the top left there, I'm going to zoom in a bit. Sorry. So this is the view of the north end of the building facing the community gardens as it sits now. The building we've now been renamed as Harbor House. That's the name we're calling the building. This side facing the community gardens, what we call the kind of West Dyke concept of the building, which kind of is supposed to express the kind of northern, some local trails and greenways in Richmond there. What we've already done is, because timing is critical in this building. We're moving quite quickly. We've already worked through the process of how to attach it to the building. We've worked with engineers or building envelope consultants to work that through. So behind the cladding now, we've added structure to support the building, support the murals, I should say. So that's actually already in place because we couldn't wait to get approvals. We wanted to make sure we're ready because this building is on the fast track to get built here. So this is the north side with the proposed mural, and the south side here, which faces the street above the canopy there. I'm just going to go through some more images here. Yeah. So these are some other views. The top left is, from the pedestrian walkway looking at our building. The bottom right as well. And this is, looking at it from the street view. And the bottom right there, sorry, from Stevenson, looking up at our building and entrance. Some other views of where it would go. This is the existing state of the building. This is on the south side. Actually, this was last week. It's even taken further. So the mural's going on this second floor of this side facing Stevenson. So as I say, we've already worked through all the structural elements. The system which has been submitted is we're attaching a metal aluminum grid attached through this cladding to structural elements that's in behind the cladding. We wanted to be very clear that we weren't affecting our building envelope for water ingress. That's kind of critical to us. So this is aluminum non-rusting frame that gets attached to here. And then the image itself is a vinyl, a digital vinyl attached to an aluminum sheet which gets screwed to that substructure. And this system is used throughout Canada. They even use the same vinyl on cars for detailing. So it has some longevity to it, because obviously we're also concerned about that at the same time, ensure that it has that. This is a view on railway. This is the view facing the community gardens on the north side, and the mural's going on that green stairwell right there. Sorry. This is just a bigger view of the mural that faces the south side. Kind of the harbor view with the boat. I'm not sure if you can make out, but in the far right there is actually our building is placed in this image. You can notice that little green building there. And on the south side, this is the image of the dike and various walkthroughs for the building. So the owner, as you know, is committed to maintenance as well. It's very simple maintenance that's been envisioned for this building, just a wash. And there's commitment to ongoing warranty as well. So yeah, I think that's basics of my presentation. If that's enough for now, I'm happy to answer questions, and there are other people here as well from the owner's side that can answer more about the building.
Thank you very much. Josh, any staff comments?
Just a few, if I may, Mr. Chair. This artwork is being provided voluntarily. As the architect indicated, construction of the building is fully underway. The mural fabricator has provided maintenance instructions to the operator for the maintenance of the murals. The murals are expected to last for approximately 10 years.
All right. Thank you for that. Roland, Kirk, any questions of the applicant or staff?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Ready to move if there's no other questions.
Just one question for you, Mr. Bonney. Given the lifespan and the mounting structure that you've described, I'm assuming that at the end of the lifespan of the art, it would be possible just that this be removed and the building would be as per its original design. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it's exactly. If the mural has to come down, all we'd have to do is patch some of the little holes through the cladding there.
All right, thank you for that. Rustico, do we have any members of the public or written correspondence?
None for both, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm happy to kick off the panel deliberations. Appreciate the efforts to brighten up the facade of the building, to introduce art that has reference to the historic location of the building. And with that, I'm happy to support it. Roland and Kirk, any additional comments before we go to panel deliberation?
Very supportive of the project and the art installation.
All right. Can I have a mover of the recommendation? All right. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and happy to see the project advancing at the pace that it is, and looking forward to having some residents move into the site early next year. So thank you all involved.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, that takes us to the third item on today's agenda, which is development permit 23029-220. The applicant is Terra 1820 number 1 Road Limited Partnership. The property location is 8120 and 8140 number 4 Road. The purpose of the development permit is to permit the construction of a 9-unit townhouse complex on a site zoned low-density townhouses RTL4, and to approve 2 variances associated with the development of the site. One is to reduce the required minimum lot width from 50 meters to 40 meters, and the second variance is to allow 5 small car vehicle parking spaces. Eric, over to you.
Sorry, Eric, you appear to be on mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, that's good, that's good. So my name is Eric from Eric Law Architect. I'm the project architect for this project, which is only a small project, 9 townhouse unit. It's located in number 1 row, as you can see on my share screen. I believe so. Can you? Yeah. Okay. So this is the context of what we are looking at. Right now, this is number 1 row, and there's only 2 lots together. In the north are the 2-story duplex. And the back are basically single-family house. On the south side, there is a single-family house. And then further down is already some newer townhouse development, which is 3-story, relatively modern-looking townhouse on the south side. And in response to this development and approach, we got the concept of doing the 3-story units at the front with a step down towards the north, so that you respect the north duplex townhouse at the north. We provide a vehicular access to the south, particularly because in the future it's easier to serve the single-family house on the south, so that it become altogether one project, and then maybe could be connected to the south, further south townhouse project too. But we do provide a railway in the future that they can develop with our project together. And also in terms of the site planning, because of the access road on the south side, we also put the common open amenity close to the south side. In the future, that they may be able to share the amenity space, and in the future extension share with the neighbor. That's why in terms of the overall planning, we put the access and common amenity at the south side. In terms of building form, because of this single-family house, 2-story single-family house on the east side, those at the back will be designed as a duplex. Basically, 2 units together. Each one is only 2-story high, and that's basically the overall concept of how we respond to the context of the neighbor. So the form, I'm showing you the aerial image of the building. So this is the duplex on the north side, 2-story, single-family house, townhouse on this side, and then the back is single-family house. So you can see that the building is all stepped back along this side with the access to the neighbor single-family house on the south. And you can see from there, you can see the access sharing on the north along the central drive aisle. So from the street view, basically you can see there is all step down to the neighbor duplex. We're further away from the single-family house on the south. We provide a really big difference so that there won't be any privacy overlooking issue with it. With that, the 1-story single-family house on the south side. And in terms of the overall image of the language that we are using is response to the newer townhouse, which is relatively modern on the south side. So we extend the language, which is a modern-looking approach to the townhouse project here in this development. So this is the image that we propose, or the color that it would be dark, gray, dark, sort of things. Relatively simple with highlight at the entrance with a more yellow or accent color so that you can see each individual identity of each individual townhouse and with their own approach to their own unit. And now you can see the overall layout is that we got one block facing number 1 with a convertible unit at the end, 2-story. And then you can see that the back is basically duplex, 2-story duplex facing the new single-family house on the east side. And in terms of on the second story, we can see that there's a really further away from the single-family house. So it's almost like 11 meters away from the single-family house over there. And on the third level, basically you can see that there's away from the single-family house on the south side, as well as away, almost 9 meters away from the north duplex, which will respect their privacy, and then there will be no overlooking issue along that. So I am going to pass on to our landscape architect to talk about the landscape. Denisa.
Hello. Just checking. Yeah. So landscape for this small townhouse project have been designed to incorporate all existing trees at northeast corner, which have been they're proposed for retention from the project arborist. And in tree protection zone, existing grades remain the same, and all construction work should be provided under arborist supervision. No trees are proposed in a right-of-way corridor along north-south, along east property line, actually. Every single unit have been provided with private yard with shade tree, except the right corridor areas, with landscape, open lawn area, and privacy from adjacent developments have been created with 6 feet wood fence or 4 feet wood fence in areas with small retaining walls. It's partially along east property line and north property line. Streetscape have been improved with the low transparent aluminum fencing with gate. This fencing gets set back with 2 feet from the property line, where a landscape strip has been proposed for softening the streetscape view. Play area have been proposed for the younger one in very nice location, southeast corner, which is the sunniest place in this site. Play equipment provide different play opportunities and can be used from multiple kids in age rate 18 months to 5 years old. Bench for caregivers have been proposed, and bike rack beside the bench, again at the entrance to the amenity space. Permeable pavers have been proposed on the driveway and for all visitor parking spot. And in addition, concept for amenity space, as Eric mentioned, if in the future both sides are agreed for amenity space to be shared. So we are providing concept for enlargement of amenity area, providing community gardens for for future owners to use. That's an overview for proposed landscape.
Right.
Thank you.
So, any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. You can stop sharing screen at the moment. Josh, any staff comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add the drive aisle for the subject site has been designed in a way to be extended in the future should redevelopment occur to either the north or the south of the properties for townhouse development. This is secured by statutory right-of-way, which was required at the time of rezoning, and appropriate signage is indicated on the landscape plans indicating that this driveway would be extended in the future to serve the adjacent properties. There is one convertible unit being provided on site. There is also, with respect to the comments around the outdoor amenity space, I would just like to clarify that this site is providing the required on-site amenity space. Should the stratas in the future decide to combine their outdoor amenity space, that would be a private agreement between the two stratas in the future. That is not a city requirement. There's also a servicing agreement that is required prior to building permit issuance for site servicing connections and construction of frontage improvements along number 1 road, including new sidewalks and boulevards. Thank you.
All right. Josh, Kirk, Roland, any questions for the applicant or the staff?
I just have one question on. So, in the event they expand south or north, you're saying that the amenity may be added, but that's a private matter. So that would just be funded by the various 1 or 2 stratas. Is that correct, or is there money being held now, or how do we look at that?
Through the chair, there is no money being held by the city in order to secure that agreement. That would be a private agreement between the stratas, should they choose to do so. Any townhouse development on either property, particularly the one to the south, would have to provide its own on-site amenity space consistent with city guidelines.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for the landscape architect. Thank you for the presentation. Just looking for some clarity with respect to, you mentioned some wooden retaining walls. Looking at the drawing, it's be in the southeast corner, but also looking for some information regarding drainage between this development and maybe future development on the north and south side. How it will all tie in, and are we designing the system in mind so that when the future development happen, it can be easily transitioned or revised?
There should be a drain. We have a detail on our detail sheet, number file. So drainage should be proposed just beside the retaining wall, and water should be collected into that perforated pipe, which will go to the system.
Denisa, do you want me to show your landscape detail?
Yes, yes, it's detail. Yes, detail pipe.
Yeah. Can you see that?
So it's yes. So it's typical retaining wall detail with drainage provided beside the wall.
Thank you. But just for clarity, that there's only a short section that has a retaining wall. Is that correct, or am I misreading the?
Yes, yes, it's a short section. Yeah.
So what happens with the drainage where there's no retaining wall?
This is a civil request to answer to this question.
Let me answer this question. Let me stop sharing this first, and then let me show you what it is. Let me share it again. All right. Okay, you can see my my sharing, right? Okay.
Yeah.
That the only retaining wall section is along here only. This is we retain the road as the same level, almost at the same level as the south neighbor, so that in the future when they extend it, that the road can easily extend it over to the south. Along this, because of the right of way on the east side. And along here, because of tree protection, we won't be able to raise any grade along this area because of right of way as well to preserve the tree. So this will be all matching the same neighbor, and this is the only portion that will increase a little bit next to the north neighbor with the retaining wall along this side only. So this is if you're talking about the retaining wall, it's only along this portion only.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that, because I see a label in the southeast corner that says wood retaining wall, so maybe that is an existing structure.
There is a small retaining wall along here that separate the private yard and the amenity space. But that portion we have already talked to the engineering department that they accept to have the retaining wall along this area so that it separate the private yard and then make this all level. And this all level is because of to match the neighbor south neighbor property. In case that in the future they can share the same, we can share the amenity. There won't be any level or grade difference between us and them if they choose to share the amenity space with us.
Okay, thank you for that. And then one final question. I mean, you can leave the drawing up, you don't have to. With respect to lighting, I see some bollard lighting. It looks like on the outside or east side of the hedge. If you look to the right of the screen.
Yes.
Does that light up the neighbor's yard? I perhaps maybe clarify that for myself.
It's lighting for the amenity space, and it's next to the proposed bench. So only this part is not lit from proposed lighting attached to the building facade.
Yeah, in terms of the lighting, I can add a little bit more, is that for the lighting along the landscape open amenity space, we have the landscape bollard light within that space. And in terms of the overall security of the overall site lighting, we have wall mount lighting on the face of the building for security reason, as well as to highlight the entrance. So if you look at our drawing here, yeah, basically on our drawing, we indicated those are the wall mount lighting along the face of our building. Those simple. exterior wall mount lighting along the face of the building. Those are the security light on to light up our building. But within the amenity space, we have those bulb lighting within the landscape area.
Thank you for that. You can stop sharing the screen. I've got one final question, Mr. Chair. Has to do with the, I guess, heating, cooling. Is there any outside equipment located? Any noise concerns?
I can also answer that question. Let me share this one again. Okay. Yeah, our system, heating and cooling system, is based on heat pump system, which is energy efficient, and then we have to meet the step code 3 with the EL-4 no zero carbon code requirement. The outdoor heat pump is basically, if you look at our layout, we already indicated the outdoor heat pump will be at the backyard of the HP is the heat pump location, facing the yard. And on the front building, we particularly recess part of the space to put the heat pump inside. And then on the landscape, we got some landscape hedge outside so that it's part of the screening the heat pump so that it doesn't look that mechanical. So we got some landscapes in front of it to soften it. So every unit got an outdoor heat pump unit on the outside face, facing the yard or facing the driveway. But that's the air source heat pump, which is a high efficiency energy good requirement. Does it answer your question?
Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. You took all my questions, Roland, so thank you. Appreciated. And thank you for the thorough answers, Eric. I guess just further to the drainage issue, just confirming that as part of the building permit, there will be perimeter drainage around the entire site. With that, any additional comments from yourself, Josh?
No further comments.
Rustico, do we have any members of the public with us today or written correspondence?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's no one in chambers right now to delegate on this item, and there's no correspondence received as well for this item.
All right. Thank you for that. I think that brings us to panel deliberations. So, Roland, Kirk, any comments, or does anyone wish to move the staff recommendation?
No further comments. I'm willing to move. Kirk's moving. I'll second.
All right. Before I call the question, I'd just like to say thank you for your presentation and your attention to detail on this. This site is quite unique in that it is lower than all its adjacent neighbors on Number 1 Road. So I do appreciate the efforts to meet the city's floodplain bylaws while still treating the adjacencies and interfaces sensitively. And with that, I will call the question on the staff motion. All those in favor? Thank you. Your project has been endorsed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Josh, any new business?
No new business, Mr. Chair.
Next meeting of the panel is December 11th of 2024.
That's correct.
All right. May I have a motion to adjourn? All right. So moved. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you all for your attendance today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, everyone.